Morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Mpapho Motsumi from the University of Botswana. Dr. Mpapho is the head of a Department of Surgery at the University of Botswana. He completed his undergraduate training in medicine at Charles University in 2009. In 2011, he joined the University of Botswana as a staff development fellow. He then went on to pursue his master's in general surgery at the University of Cape Town in 2012. After completing his training, he returned to the University of Botswana as a lecturer and ascended to senior lecturer post in 2018, as well as the head of department in 2021. He graduated with a PhD at the University of Pretoria in May of this year. To our esteemed presenter, please note that you have 15 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes for Q&A. We will keep you posted in the private chat on your time intervals. Please, can you take a smile while sharing your video so that we can just take a screenshot? And then straight after that, the floor is yours. Thank you very much, and we welcome you.
Thank you. I hope I'm still audible.
You are still audible. Thank you very much, Doctor. We look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you for the introduction and good afternoon. I'm presenting our work that looked at utilizing lecture-created online videos for teaching cognitive skills in surgical procedures. I want to acknowledge Prof. Martin Brandt, Dr. Irene Labe, and Dr. Laki Mukate, who are co-authors in this piece of work. Now, to start with, the scope of surgery is vast and diverse, and therefore the depth and breadth of the knowledge and surgical skills to be taught to trainees is very immense. As such, a resident or a trainee who's learning a surgical procedure being the act of performing an operation, needs to acquire technical skills, which are psychomotor or movement-oriented skills. And over that, they need to also acquire cognitive skills, which are higher order thinking skills that inform the trainees' decision-making, error detection, and problem solving. These cognitive skills are very critical both in the pre-operative phase, the operative phase, and post-operative management phase, to optimize the outcome of patient care. Now, emerging evidence suggests that technical skills receive a greater emphasis in surgical training than cognitive skills, particularly with regards to surgical procedures. The Royal Australian College of Surgeons classifies cognitive skills as a core competency in surgical training, and that they need to be adequately taught. There is a need, therefore, for a systematic and sequential approach to teaching cognitive skills in surgical procedures. Therefore, there is a need to create innovative teaching methods to augment the current teaching or traditional methods of teaching surgical procedures. The aim of our study was to create online lecture-created videos for teaching cognitive skills, specifically for surgical procedures. This was a cross-sectional descriptive study that described the design of lecture-created online videos for cognitive skills in surgical procedures. We used the 3D animation pipeline to create the educational videos. We subsequently, in the post-production processing phase, embedded low-stakes assessments which had instant feedback in the video. It is worth noting that those low-stake assessments were not meant to assess the knowledge of the trainee during the viewing of the video, but rather to support the learning of the trainee. Our participants were novice medical officers and general surgery residents at universities of Botswana and Pretoria. Novice here referring to a medical officer or a medical officer who was in the surgical department for a minimum of 1 year, but not more than 3 years, and a resident who's a first or second year resident in training. The participants consented to take part in the study, and we also obtained ethical approval from both institutions. The study adopted the ADI model of instructional design to design the educational video. ADI stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation, where the analysis looks at the needs assessment, really trying to answer the questions of who is the client, what is their need, and how to meet their needs. The design component of the ADI model focuses in blueprinting the instruction, and the development develops the product, while the implementation focuses in quality assurance and commissioning of the instruction, and the evaluation focused here in piloting and evaluating the lecture-created videos. Just a bit more detail in the stages of the ADI model. During the analysis phase, trainees or participants were asked to whether their view of whether there is a need to have a systematic approach to teaching cognitive skills of surgical procedures. And all of them agreed that indeed there needs to be such, so that every trainee, before they observe or participate in an operation, would have acquired that skill. One of the things that we asked them was to identify the topics that they feel should be covered during the training of cognitive skills of surgical procedures. And the listed topics here are the topics that were provided by the trainees. And furthermore, they were asked whether they felt that each of these topics should be covered to what extent, whether in detail or in brief, before they participated in an operation in theater. This was the outcome. Almost all of the trainees at the bottom, 29 of them participated. You can see that 29 of them felt that an illustration and demonstration of the operative steps is very critical before they could go and attend an operation, as this would improve their understanding. So there were 4 topics that were really felt to be topics that need to be covered in detail. That included the pre-operative preparation, post-operative management, complications and their management, then demonstration of operative steps. The other topics trainees felt that could be covered in brief were introduction to the surgical procedure, demonstration of the closure during the operation, contraindications to the surgical procedure, demonstration of positioning of the patient for the procedure, and demonstration of the exposure and access for the procedure. During the design phase or blueprinting phase, the outline or a blueprint of the educational video was designed, and this was the outline. So the educational video consisted of 2 components: the presentation component, which was more of a slideshow with some illustrations, and the second component being a 3D animation illustration of the surgical procedure itself. Now, in the presentation component, the topics that were covered were the outline with intended learning outcomes, introduction of the surgical procedure, and general principles to be observed during the surgical procedure. After these topics are covered in the educational video, a quiz would then pop up and the video would pause, and trainee would then take the quiz and answer the questions. As they answer the questions, then they received instant feedback and encouragement to carry on with the video. And then the subsequent questions were indications and pre-operative preparation, followed by a second low-stakes assessment quiz with instant feedback. The second component, which was a 3D animation of the surgical procedure itself, consisted of the demonstration of positioning of the patient on the table before the operation, landmarks of the operation, and then that was followed by a pop-up quiz which they would answer before they proceeded. It is worth noting that the performance of the trainee, though this was not to assess the knowledge of the trainees, their performance was also captured in the learning analytics of the learning management system. Now, the other steps that followed, of course, were the steps of the surgical procedure, then a summary and complications and post-operative care teaching, followed by the fourth quiz. The development stage involved the development of the 3D animation educational video itself. Here we used 3D animation softwares from the Adobe 3D animation package and the Autodesk 3ds Max with Maya Autodesk softwares. The 3D animation video production process was followed, and this process involves pre-production processing, production and post-production processing of the animation video. The quiz events were created and embedded in the video, and the quizzes were actually stratified according to the Bloom's taxonomy of the cognitive classification. And these questions were mapped on the Bloom's taxonomy to try to assess the first 5 levels of the Bloom's taxonomy. The assessed components, or the components that were covered following this taxonomy, were the recall and remembering, understanding, application, and analysis and evaluation abilities of the trainees. The application that was used to incorporate these low-stake assessments with instant feedback on the video was the Camtasia quiz tool. This tool is shown here. The middle component of the software or application there shows the video, and the bottom component is the timeline of the video. At this stage, I'm showing a post component of the educational video where the anatomy for appendicectomy was being taught. And at this stage, on the timeline, a quiz was being set, and the quiz that would be inserted at this instant constituted multiple choice questions, fill in the blank questions, short answer questions, true and false questions. And the app also allowed us to link or create links within the video in response to the answers that the trainees gave, just to reinforce their learning. So you could jump to a time in the timeline just to repeat and reinforce what the trainee learned if they got the answer wrong. Now, the implementation phase of the interactive video for the 4 surgical procedures that were designed were quality checked and by an educationist and uploaded in the module in the learning management system. In this case, we used the University of Botswana Moodle platform to upload and provide access to the 4 surgical procedure videos. Now, the functionality of the interface was tested during this stage as well. During the evaluation, the trainees took a self-reported survey, and we had 25 participants in this self-reported survey. And the findings were, their survey was actually based on a 5-scale Likert scale of strongly disagree, disagree, not sure, agree, and strongly agree. So this year is just the 5-level Likert scale that we used. The outcome, all trainees strongly agreed that a flexible and engaging method for teaching cognitive skills was required. And they also reported an increased confidence and competence and attributed this to visual and interactive elements of the video. All trainees strongly agreed that they were satisfied with the educational videos. 24 out of the 25 who participated strongly agreed that they would recommend the adoption of the training videos to augment or support learning of cognitive skills in surgical training. In conclusion, this study designed a lecture-created video for teaching, or lecture-created videos for teaching cognitive skills of surgical procedures using 3D animation with embedded low-stake assessment to reinforce learning, and those were accompanied by instant feedback. The study used the ADDI model of instructional design to design the educational video, and trainees all confirmed the need for a flexible and engaging teaching method for teaching cognitive skills of surgical procedures. This study paves the way for future studies and has the potential to improve the surgical training and the curriculum itself. Thank you very much. Those are my references.
Thank you kindly, Dr. Motsumi. We will now open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand if you'd like an opportunity to speak, or you're also welcome to post a question into the chat. Dr. Motsumi, I do have one question. I noted that you used Camtasia. Were there any other tools that you considered, or was Camtasia the obvious choice for you, and if so, why?
There were other tools that I've used, like I've used Premiere Pro, but Premiere Pro, I actually just used it for voiceover recording for the 3D animation, which Camtasia also could do. So Camtasia, I just preferred it because it was the only one that I was capable of use, or that I am able to use to add embedded assessment. The Adobe Premiere Pro, I can only do video editing, but I could not use it to add the embedded assessments.
Wonderful. That is very helpful knowledge, because while there are many tools, obviously you want something that can answer more of the problems that we're experiencing than others. So I do thank you for suggesting that Camtasia is something that our viewers could perhaps look into as well if they're not already using it. Do we have any further questions? Okay, great. Doctor, once again, thank you so very much. It was an incredibly interesting presentation, and I look forward to following you and your research further. Again, thank you to those of us. Hold on. I do have a question before I cut you off. From Mpapho Motsumi. Dr. Motsumi, can you please provide a walkthrough of your platform?
Thank you very much. I assume that is as a link. There is a link in one of my submissions to this very conference. I think it's the first portion of the symposium, where you could actually link to a YouTube illustration of both the design process, which is quite lengthy, and I didn't include it here for the sake of time. But you could watch the stages of 3D animation design, and also you could watch one of the videos that were produced during the study. We had four surgical procedures that were animated. So I invite you to check, once those are published, to check those links on the presentations and watch them.
Wonderful. I'll be sure to find that link to share with the viewers. And I see that Mpapho Motsumi has one more question that he's typing. Sorry, he, she, they. How can we get hold of you, Doctor?
Through my email that I will share. I'll also share my phone number, WhatsApp. You can WhatsApp anytime, no problem. I'm sure if you search my name will come on social platforms, and you can also get hold of me there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm sure that will be very helpful for the people that would like to collaborate and work with you and network with you. Once again, thank you so much for all this insightful information. For everyone that is still in the chat and listening, please, once again, do not forget about the lunch session with Lucinda